Belizean Legends, and I'm Bilal Morris, live from West Palm Beach, Florida, interviewing the legendary Belizean footballer, Americans say soccer, Gregsie Jones. Today, better known to many in the football world in Belize, or in the soccer world in Belize, as the Brick Wall. A very humble brother, first time getting to meet him in person. This was a biggie here, traveling from Los Angeles to come and interview this legendary Belizean footballer. A very good defensive Belizean player. Many Belizeans who went and watched football in the 1970s were able to see Gregsie Jones play. Come straight out of our Orange Walk. We have a big story, and today we will hear his story. My brother, welcome to Belizean Legends. Gregsie Jones.
Welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes.
And I see you have your audience ready for you in the background.
Yes.
All right. And this beautiful backdrop live here in Florida. What better place could you be? You had it laid out today, Gregsie. Yeah, man. So let's talk about how it all began for Gregsie Jones. How it all began with your football. Me and you talk about this off the record, but I want you to take your viewers, right? I want you to take your viewers all the way from the beginning, right? From the beginning. You even have to talk about primary school football.
Yeah,
how did it start for Gregsie Jones?
That's where it started.
That's how it started for you, with little.
Yeah, it started for me at Macolana Roman Catholic School there in Grove. Backyard ball. Then used to compete against the other schools, the other private schools. Like, our biggest opponent was Palma, a little village that produced Baraga, the legendary Baraga. And then there was St. Peter's Anglican School, which produced Harry Alleg. You know, simultaneously played football and basketball in the city of Belizean. And so, you know, we used to compete against each other. And I gotta say, my humble beginnings, you know, is what made me.
Speak up a little bit.
Is what made me. The guys that I played against. Some people that their name have never been called. You know, some like Memo, Gongo, Martin Chiquilino.
Wow.
Renando Senior.
Wow.
You know?
Those are some new names to me too, Gregsie.
Yeah. You know, these guys I'm telling you, they're not in the big, they didn't go to the big league.
Yeah, but they were very good Belizean football players.
What I'm trying to say is, because of these guys that were never mentored, they made me. Because from playing against them and having to hone my skills against them at the primary school level, it took me to another level. So even though whatever happened to me,
Hold your legs steady.
MCC, you know, inter-district, and then I met some big guns, some of the best soccer players in the country. But for me to stand against them, the credit belongs to them small guys from the primary school era. You know, they deserve the credit. Because when I went to MCC or when I went to the district, if I didn't go there with the holding that they gave me, I wouldn't have stood up. MCC is a hard place to play. I also know a lot of good guys, a lot of some serious, talented, local players. I mean some serious, talented players. And you put them in MCC grounds, and they fall apart.
Yeah, you talk about that, but before you even go any further, you talk about when you first left Orange Walk to go to Belize City to go to school at Technical at BTC, right?
I did a stint at Port.
Yeah, talk about your journey from Orange Walk to BTC and how it happened for you in football. How you talk about some things that actually happened that didn't really go too well.
No.
Talk about it.
No. I had a hard time in the city. Talking about football. I had this thing in me that I wanted to show. But as much as I tried, nobody in the city gave me an opportunity. Right? I followed football in the city. I played backyard football in St. Ignatius, Holy Redeemer, Plaza, Ebenezer, Sandy Field, St. Hilda's, Yarborough Field. I went everywhere and tried to show my skills. And they gave me game. But come beginning of the season, I was never picked on no team. Never.
Why was that?
Say it again?
Why was that? Why is it you talk about you would be there, you would be on the fence, you would watch Coro, Maurice Jones and all of them playing from Plaza?
Yeah.
Right?
They all caught me.
That's where you were hanging out.
Yeah, they
you
all
lived in that
Plaza.
part.
My stint in the city, my best times was Plaza.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at Plaza, I used to go there and sit on the fence and I watch them do their thing.
Yes, yes.
Nobody knows me. I'm just sitting there on the fence, sitting there on the fence.
Yes, yes.
And one day they were shot at one player. Right?
Yes.
And Korosha was the one. I think Korosha was the only one who gave me a break. Korosha said, so I was wearing a blue pants, right? You don't know my name, I'm just sitting there watching them. Every day I'm there watching them.
Yeah.
But you know they have their click, their, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so they said, blue pants, come on.
Let's go here.
Yeah, come on, see what, yeah, come on. And I jumped off the fence and I flew.
Yeah.
And I got in there one day. And let's just say from that one day,
Yeah.
I never sat on the fence again. Every time I go there to fight, get me on your team, you know what I'm saying? And so that was my best time. But all of them, I still couldn't get the team to play that. Your team doesn't go anywhere. You know? I used to go everywhere, Lake Independence, right up there where Borgia played. I used to go to hostel. To hostel where Land River trains.
Land River trains, yeah.
Thinking that somebody would
Yeah.
see my skills and say, well,
Yeah.
come on, you take this dude somewhere. Nobody did.
I love that journey too that you mentioned there. I bring it up, Gregsie, because I want you to mention it. You're not going to leave anything out today, right? But you also talk about Ebenezer School,
Yeah?
right? Talk about your experience with Ebenezer School in terms of football.
Well, Ebenezer was sandy, grain sand.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
fall down there.
You were actually playing football in primary school level in Ebenezer.
No,
Uh-huh.
no. I used to hang out at the club.
Right, right,
By the
yeah.
Tattoo family and them.
Right.
And so Ebenezer is right there. And so every evening after school, some serious games go on in there.
Play on the field.
Serious games. And so serious.
I remember them. I used to pass and look at
Yes,
them.
some darn good players.
Yes.
Coro was there. Khaled was there with some main little brother. You know what I'm saying? Kwanji. You remember what Kwanji? I think he's
Fabian playing around there too.
no, Fabian was Southside. Fabian was Southside. But there was some
Coro, Maurice Jones and
yeah, there
them.
was some serious balling in that Ebenezer small yard. For example, the Plaza, man.
But I did not know when I hear Maurice Jones mention the fact that Angus Vernon, Mr. Ball, lived right there, and Limoga
Yeah.
was right in that very
Big
same
ballers
area on the
from
north
Big
side.
ballers.
Yeah.
Ripper Coy.
Ripakoi,
Huh? Malcolm Bulla Hemmans.
Malcolm Budaheven, Mandingo Barnett,
Right, Mandingo Barnett.
yes, Earl,
Baby Flowers.
Baby Flowers. These are the names, people.
All the
Yeah.
guys are from Plaza. They call it no Plaza University, and I go with it because,
Yeah.
boy,
And all the while, the undiscovered footballer that ended up becoming one of the best
I used to
defensive in the
watch- I used to watch
70s.
them play.
They didn't even know who it was until Coro said, Koya Blue Pants.
Yeah, I used to watch them play and admire them and idolize them. Top everything.
Yes, yes. Maurice Jones, you hear this, right? Because
But
I
nobody-
talked to you about it. You said, well, the Plaza didn't pick nobody that they didn't know.
And so the question he asked me is why,
yeah, yeah.
and I didn't know why then. But when I got older, I started realizing why. See, Belize City ball is clicked up. You can't go to nobody feel enough to no, because they already have their friends. You do this every day. They have their friends that have places in this pickup team. You can't just go here. You know? So I got in there by chance to Korosha. You know what I'm saying? And so then I did that for a while. And so I got frustrated. After I ran out and said, yeah, all over the place trying to catch up to me. Hoping that somebody would pick me, and never did. And then there was a team called Central Americanos.
Central Americanos.
It was a ragtag team of alcoholics.
I never heard about this, but Belizean viewers may be able to hear about football team Central Americanos.
It was owned by a guy called Victor. I think he lived on Prince Street. He was a tailor. And so he got this team together with a whole bunch of don't give a damn. Central Americanos place last place every year. Every year they last place team. And so because I couldn't catch a team, there was a guy that lived in my yard that used to play with the Central Americanos team. Central Americanos, okay, they win or lose, but they show up every game. And I suck it. I was a kid, 15, 16 years old. So they said, you want to come with me? So I traveled with them one time to Benton. After that. So Central Americanos was so weak that Bafa wouldn't give them their games.
Wow.
They don't play Saturday or Sunday. They play night games. Because nobody's going to come to the game anyway. Nobody's going to pay money to go to MCC and watch Central Americanos.
But that was the only team you were able to catch.
They gave me an opportunity.
Yeah, the guy gave
and
you
I
an
was like,
opportunity to
okay,
play.
so I jumped in the team. Man, I used to take 13 nil, 12 nil.
Yeah, you were just developing your defensive skills at
But
the
I'm
time.
playing.
You're playing, you're getting play time.
I'm on MCC.
You know what I mean? You're not sitting on the bench, you're getting play time.
I'm on MCC.
Yeah, you don't matter if they're giving you 30 nil, but you're getting play time.
But I went there and I give it my all.
Yeah.
I give it my all. And I'm hoping that maybe next year, one of these bigger teams would, let's bring him in. They never did.
That was a beautiful story there, Gregsie, because I asked you to tell it because I want you to let the viewers know how you come from the bottom.
Yeah.
Gregsie Jones came from the bottom. It's not a fly-by-night thing. What they saw in MCC, because I want you to tell me about when you return, the return of Gregsie Jones and the garden. It's not where you came from. It's not, people see the finished product of these footballers in the 70s like you, but they do not know what all went into that, right? So talk about now you came out of Belize City and you went back to Orange Walk.
All right, so after Central Americanos, like I said, we lost every game. On Central Americanos, there are like maybe two good players that I can remember, excluding myself. There was Dover. You heard about Dover?
I remember Dover. Yes.
And then we had Ratabot.
Ratabot
In the goal.
Yes.
Yeah. With them and me.
Yeah, these names, Belizeans, these names were these were the unsung heroes of football, right? Yeah.
And so anyway, I went back to Orange Walk. And I got back there and things just changed. Like I said, growing up in Orange Walk, massive ballers there. They didn't have the opportunity for MCC. Growing up in the local competition, fierce. And so as soon as I got back there, Stud Henry grabbed me. At the time, no Stud was playing for Charger Bear, Orlando Marcus Charger Bear. And so they said, Greg,
Chargers, good team.
he said, I want you to come with me to the city. Man, I was so happy. Because see, at the time, no, I already knew MCC. I already knew all the big players.
Yeah,
I played against them,
there before.
even though I never won.
You knew that Belize City audience,
Yeah,
the largest in the whole country.
And so I said, well, come here, so ride to the city, we can get up there. We started kicking ass. And I
At the time, Carballo was with you all too?
No, Carballo was still in Honduras, somewhere at Agricultural College. He was on the scene. He's from Marine Club, but he was studying in Honduras. And so I did like 2 years with Charger Bear. Met all the big guys, every last one you think about. Any name you want to call, I played against them. Charger was a very good team. We never won a city competition. We were always second place.
Second place, yeah. All the newspaper clippings that I have covered word as a journalist looking at Belizean football history. Chargers was really up there in the 70s. They did so well in terms of playing against other teams.
Evan Hyde was the manager at Chargers at the time. Evan X. Hyde.
Yeah, he wrote about it in his book.
Yeah. And so we used to ride into the city, and we would walk in the people, hired guns, hired guns from the north. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I did my stint with Charger, and then right then, while I was doing that, we were playing with the club team, there was a district going on at the time. So simultaneously playing in the district and in the city at the same time. So there was a lot of games that was in the city because I was dedicated to Orange Rock. Right? So there's a lot of big games, like say Tiger versus Virgin 404, but the same Sunday, I will drop playing Cayo in San Ignacio. I'm in San Ignacio. You see?
Yeah. You're there with your team.
Yeah, because that was my dedication, because I had a kind of a feeling for these city teams that I was there, they didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? And so I dedicated myself to a regional football.
This is Belizean Legends. I am Bilal Morrison. We are interviewing the legendary Belizean football player, soccer player, Gregsie Jones, that hails from Orange Walk, one of Belize's best defensive players in the 1970s Belizean football explosion at the MCC grounds and the entire inter-district football competitions. Awesome story, because I always call it the return of Gregsie Jones, right? The block that the builders refuse has returned, right? And you have now come back with stud, and you're making that impact. You're not playing in two leagues, inter-district, and you're playing in the leagues, right? Yeah. Continue from there, Gregsie.
And so then we went and won the inter-district. All the districts play against each other. When the tournament is over in the district, whoever is the champion in the district, you got to go to the city and play against an all Belize selection. Whoever won the city competition, strengthen up with other players.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They play against them.
We won the district competition. Least on Henrik Carbaya came in by then, right? From Honduras.
Enrique Carballo, wicked baseline football shooter.
Scoring machine.
Yes.
And so then we had guys with Stud Hendricks, myself, Harry Aleng, Romaldo Lambert.
Harry Aleng. Belizeans, many people, I want you to stick up in there, Gregsie. I'll come right back to that, but many people don't know that Harry Aleng was a multi-talented Belizean athlete. He played both football and basketball. You will say on Sunday, where is he?
Listen.
And then right after that, he goes where?
10 o'clock in the morning on the island, 2 o'clock on MCC.
And that was similar to Harry Kittle.
Harry did the same thing.
Harry Kittle was the same way. Multi-talented,
you know who did the same thing too?
Yeah.
Shape Roda.
Man.
Shape did the same thing.
He came in and broke the record in cycling.
Yeah.
Basketball player, football, and also table tennis.
Yes.
At Rogers Stadium.
Shogun was not the player.
So talented.
Shogun was not the player.
These were the players from the 1970s.
Humble guy.
Very humble.
All-around guy.
Yes, man. Super talented. Coming fifth behind Holiday and the crowd that broke the record. Broke Jeffrey O'Brien's record.
And so I'm saying, that's my life. I knew all them guys. And so going back to in the district, now we got to go to MCC and face all the leagues. And like a national selection, nobody had ever beaten a national team or an all Belize team in MCC. And we went in there. Mark Chavarria in our goal. Anthony Chavarria.
Very small, very short. Would spring like a spring chicken.
Listen, I remember we walked into the stadium. When we walked in the stadium, the police fans, the stadium, and they started saying, "Oh, Rock have to, this is a crocus bag." They will load up the crocus bag with all these shots rolling. And then that game started and we played our ass off and Mark Cavalria. Shelling from Mandingo Barney. It's over my hand.
You talk about Mandingo Barney. He used to could do some cannon all the way.
But that thing right there took a shelling from the best in the city.
And I was able to catch most of it.
And torn them back and torn them back and torn them back. That game ended up, I think, 4-3.
Wow.
And you know what? Never ever in the history of Belize football, an interdistrict team would come and beat the all Belize football. The fans went crazy. The Belize fans went crazy.
What happened when they had to leave and go back?
We had to get police escort. We had to get a police escort.
Belize, are you listening to this?
A police escort out the city because after
you don't beat Belize City.
They are mad now because they can't believe it. And so when we came out the stadium and got in our bus and we tried to get out of town, the fans came there and they started stoning the bus with stones and battle and stick and it broke up all the windows on the bus. And so they had to escort us all the way down past Belcan and Palote. Get us out of town. We couldn't stay in the city.
But Gregsie, that was typical in every district you go, right? Fans were very passionate about their district's team.
Well, that is true.
But Belize City was worse than all.
But that is true too. But we beat them on MCC fair and square.
Yeah,
but
of course they got beat. They couldn't handle it. No, you don't come here and beat
that was
City.
my revenge. That was my return back to the city.
Payback.
Yeah, the city.
The big payback
of
Gregsie Jones.
Wanted me.
Yeah, the big payback of Gregsie Jones. I love the story.
And see, I disappeared for a while when I'm back to Orange Rock and so and so when I get back to the city now, a lot of people that knew me when I was in the city, they didn't even know I was from Orange Rock. They thought I was a city boy.
Then you got your respect then.
And so when I come back now, then everybody like, I be Gregsie.
So they end up in Evan Hyde's book.
They know me now.
Sports Sin and Subversion.
This guy was around here, and all of a sudden he come back now, and I stood in that defense row. And I think there's a few great games that I think I played in my life, and that was one of them. And so that's the one I think Evan Hyde, and then jump on it, and then the rest is history, where I went from here. You know?
You talk about when you brought the Orange Walk players after you returned back to the Garden, the MCC ground, it's called the Garden.
Yeah.
How you already had that experience.
Yeah.
Talk about what happened to the other players that you...
Well, a lot of them that we had on the team, selected on the team to go there, a lot of them I thought because in Orange Walk and local communication or against the villages or against our brothers to the north for us all. These guys are great guys. You know? So they selected them and took them to the city. Stage fright. Stage fright. I'm not going to call their names, but they're so
freeze up.
They're froze up.
But you know, the Gregsie is a typical thing that when players, it happens with everything, you know, music, everything, that if you don't know how to play in front of big audiences, and you have been just playing in front of maybe musical sports, and you get into these big arenas, right, where there's hundreds of people. Khaled Gill talk about when Consuelo Dugal and them were playing softball in the cast game, and he said it was nearly 10,000 fans. People said, well, no, that could never be 10,000 fans in 1969 when Consuelo Dugal struck out the Jamaican batters and win the cast game. Right. People like, Belize had them kind of fans there? But no, yes, he said it was nearly 10,000 fans.
I'm telling you, I've been to games that I played and games that I went there and said, no, what?
Yeah.
I remember looking at Al Belize. This is before I left the city. I'm a nobody. I watched Al Belize against Agua Dulce Veracruz.
Yeah, Agua Dulce. Yes.
Man, you can't get in there.
Who won those games?
I think they played like 3 games.
3 games.
And I think they went maybe win last draw. They did good. The Belize team did good.
Because then the Belize selection went to Agua Dulce and won and came back undefeated in 5 games. Yes. This man here has a lot of Belizean football sports history. I hope our viewers are listening, because Gregsie Jones is connecting the dots here. He's tying up a lot of the things that we missed when you see Orino Rio and when we saw all the other footballers talk. Now we're hearing Gregsie Jones connect a lot of the dots in terms of that. But I want you to stay right there, because they went Agua Dulce when you talk about that. Continue that path, because I want you to stay on that train of thought. in terms of
Well,
the game?
well, when they selected, at this time now I'm already city. You know, I'm playing inside in the city competition. I'm doing inside district, and so I already dropped all the leagues. Historically dropped all the leagues, and so now I'm known. And so now they are going to do something coming up, and so they're building the national team. They have these teams. Hi, Mama, look at my little granddaughter.
Come and say hi to the legendary grandfather here. Put her in your lap and let the camera see her. You see, the man is blessed. He's blessed with his granddaughter. This is Gregsie Jones here, our beloved legendary Gregsie Jones, showing his gift of life, his little granddaughter here, and
so they're building this national team, and so I didn't know if I was going to get selected. I felt like I should, but nobody was talking about me. And then Evan Hyde wrote an article, and so now the selection in the defense, one spot left. The selection in the defense was between two Roches from Stanley Creek. Patur.
Yeah.
And me and myself.
Yes.
Right? And so they went to Turo. But I did well deserved.
Another good defensive player.
Turo was not to play with. And so they chose Turo. And I never felt no bad way. They chose Turo from other PG, other Stanley Creek, Rincha Alali, Buck Palacio, out of the west, Arturo Asqueta, and
Cooper and all of them.
well, the Belize crowd, they go beat
They
them.
were already there.
You know what I'm saying? But
Cristobal
outside
and all of
of
them.
the district.
Outside the district.
I'm talking about. And then so from
Jacinto Tashkitiris.
yes. And so outside of the city, Corozal, they chose one person, a guy named Mandy Vasquez, very good guy too. Respectfully.
Yeah, I heard of Mandy Vasquez.
And then Enrique Carvalho from Maricua.
It's a national selection.
That was the national selection. I'm out.
You get left out.
They chose Patur. But like I'm saying, Patur deserved it.
Right.
Patur had more experience than me. I was a young kid. I was 17 years old. I already
So
feel but
you didn't do like what Cador Turton said, that when I think it was the room, right? When they not selected the room, went to Rice here, my broke up all the You were humble, my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I realized when they picked Patur over me, he deserved it because you understand, he had more experience than I had.
Right.
You understand, he had the skills. And so I'm thinking, okay.
You see, and that is the mark, Belizeans, that is the mark of a good athlete. That you were humble enough because you were not chosen, because there was a better person.
Yes.
And you felt also that person,
I
Turo was
I
much
wanted to
better.
be in there, but
Turo was an awesome Belizean football player.
Turo was not the
right?
my brother.
And you step aside and you say, that's humility. And you know what? That made you big too, because you were able to step aside and give the chance to a player that you thought was a little better than yourself, right? Go ahead, Gregsie.
Yeah. And so that's why he was done with that. And then that's the team they took to Mexico, and they did darn good. They did darn good.
Yeah, I like to show pictures of that selection because that is a historical Belizean football history that was ever made. You came back undefeated in 5 games in Mexico against Acodulce.
I think that's one of the baddest Belizean selection.
Right. The teams from the 60s like Brody's and so on with Mugger and Pops Hamilton and all of them, Gilly Dunn and talk about the fact that they went to Jamaica and did the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think that was unprecedented, Gregsie Jones, that a Belizean national selection. And I think I asked Maurice Jones and Ricky Gunga, why weren't they on that team? And I think something happened.
We'll see a lot of time.
But as Sula was not selected, I remember reading a newspaper clip in Amandala. I was combing through the Amandalas and looking at those positions. I saw a part that says Evan Hyde was asking why wasn't Turo selected.
You mean Turo go honestly?
Not at Turo. It was the other Turo, Roches.
So Patur.
Yeah. But the tour you are talking about is Goatman.
Yeah.
Goatman. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
first I was talking about two roaches.
Roaches.
Yeah.
Yes. That's. I want to make sure we are clear on that because that's why I was thinking you were referring to also. But look at he was left out when they went to Mexico because Ivan wrote a piece that I forget what he called it, but he was like criticizing the selection why that, and when you asked, I asked the question why didn't Robo? I think one of the comments was that man want play, but man don't want to practice.
No, but see, Bilal, this is the same thing I'm telling you about. That's the same way like me, a kid in the city, trying to catch a team and catch the team. The same thing happens on a national level.
Yeah.
On a national level, what's this team would have picked it? Buck Palacio, Richard Adali,
Tosh.
PG, Jacinto Tash. Right? Cayo, Arturo Sueta. Orinjoa, Enrique Carballo, Corozal, Mandy Vasquez. Look at that. All the rest of the team are Belizean players.
Okay, Gregsie, then you are talking about another selection then that was different from that. Maybe not. You could be talking about the same selection that went undefeated in 5 games.
But what I'm saying, they always do that. The majority of the players.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you this. It's mostly Borgia 404 players.
Yeah.
It's like
there was a little biasness in the selection, right, Gregsie Jones?
It's Borgia 404. It's like you take Borgia 404.
So who was selected that? Cristobal Main?
Yes. Well, he had something to do with it.
Okay.
You know,
he was the captain of the team and the coach.
Right. And he was a legend. I mean, and so what happens is when they select this team, it's like they take Borgia 404 and just strengthen up with a few players. 3 out of Stanley Creek, 1 out of Cayo, 1 from PG, 1 from Marinja, and 1 from Corozal. That's not a selection. That is not a selection. The core of the team is Borgia 404. You see? And they do this, they do it every year, every time.